They were trapped just meters from land. How can one person and some dogs get across? Seeing the ice floe drifting away, Sepp pinned his hopes on the lead dog. He secured the rope to the ice, tying the other end to Togo. He picked up Togo, apologized, and threw him with all his might. He needed to pull the ice floe with sheer force. After landing, Togo began to crawl forward with difficulty. Despite the impossible task, Togo charged ahead without hesitation. The rope was taut, and his companions cheered him on. He gritted his teeth, exerting all his strength, forgetting his age. After several charges, the ice floe finally moved. Sepp quickly untied the rope. The dogs, ready to go, rushed forward. One by one, the dogs jumped onto the shore. After a burst of speed, Sepp leapt onto the shore. Once ashore, he hugged Togo excitedly. At that moment, he didn't know how to thank his old friend. 12 years ago, he tried to abandon her. He remembered when they met, Togo was a little puppy. But he was weak and small, not favored by Sepp. In his eyes, it was ruthless natural selection. The cold Alaskan weather was harsh on the weak. Even if he survived, what could he bring to his pack? His wife would reach the will to survive. Under his wife's insistence, Togo wasn't abandoned. After some time, he survived and was full of energy. His energy gave Sepp a headache. Running around, biting things, not following commands. In anger, Sepp gave him to a friend. Within 3 days, Togo was returned. Helpless, Sepp locked him in the pen. Whenever Sepp trained, he ran frantically. Other dogs began to imitate him. Seeing this, Sepp was furious. He brought stones to surround the pen. Togo started digging and found stones. If one spot didn't work, he tried another. Running along the fence's edge, all 6 holes were no good. Then, he tried away from the fence. Soon, his furry head poked out from outside. After that, he followed Sepp's scent and ran wildly. In no time, he found the training team. He seems to naturally have a leader's charisma. Or maybe a troublemaker's. All the trainees would follow his lead. Because many were untrained, soon the whole sled team was in chaos. This time, Sepp was furious with the wet dog. As soon as he got home, he blocked all the warehouse exits. Then he locked Togo inside. Faced with the airtight space, Togo had no way out. For a while, he was anxiously pacing inside. After calming down, he observed and found a roof hole, just big enough to escape. So, he got to work. Using a rope, he quickly climbed up. Then there was a crackling sound, and soon a head popped out. Looking at this adorable guy, Sepp was both angry and fond. Just like that, Togo escaped again and ran to his owner. In no time, he messed up the team again. Unable to bear it, Sepp decided to send Togo far away. Although his wife was reluctant, she was powerless against him. Soon, they arrived at the lady's house. Before leaving, Sepp reminded the lady the dog was naughty. But she didn't mind. The wife could only leave Togo there alone. The house was beautiful, but Togo didn't like it. He ran around, looking for an exit, wanting to return. The lady thought if she kept him locked up, he'd accept his fate. But she underestimated Togo's stubbornness. After finding the weak spot, he took 2 steps back. By the time the lady realized, it was too late. Soon, Sepp noticed something was off again. Looking up, he saw Togo above, proudly watching. But Sepp couldn't figure it out. How did Togo cross so far to find his own? Seeing Togo's blood, Sepp felt soft-hearted and wanted to take him home. He wanted to carry Togo onto the sled to rest. Unexpectedly, the little guy wasn't willing to lie down for even a second. He energetically sat in the lead dog's position. To help him understand his role, Sepp placed him next to the fiercest dog. Seeing the other dog's bared teeth, Togo, adaptable as ever, immediately showed his submissive side. In no time, he licked the other dog's chest comfortably. And so, the sled team set off. On the road, Sepp was surprised to find Togo's speed and endurance clearly surpassed the other dogs in the line. Sepp suppressed his inner joy and moved Togo up a row. Jongning, the other dog, was tied to Togo's previous position. But this dog wasn't as capable as Togo. Seeing the other dog's bared teeth, it could only retreat in fear. Setting off again, Sepp's excitement was evident. Because he found that Togo was more than capable in this position. So he moved Togo up another row. And so, he moved him up row by row. When the sled team returned home, Sepp's wife looked up to see Togo had reached the lead dog's position. The dogs behind him were all bigger, but none dared to challenge him. Togo stood firmly in the lead with his strength. Seeing this, Sepp's wife was very pleased. At this moment, Sepp was even more excited. He excitedly told his wife that Togo wasn't just a sled dog, but a natural leader. It was then that Sepp named him Togo, after a Japanese naval admiral. Because neither was initially favored. Although Sepp had started to like Togo, in his view, dogs were just tools for humans. They absolutely couldn't enter the human bedroom. Since then, Togo officially became the lead dog. Even the former champion teams paled in comparison to them. Togo lived up to expectations. winning the sled team races in the town time and again. 12 years passed in the blink of an eye. Life was expected to remain peaceful, but one day, the town suddenly faced a diphtheria outbreak. Over a dozen children in the town were infected, and 5 had already tragically died. The mayor held an emergency meeting to discuss countermeasures. The only cure was serum from 1,000 miles away. Missing the optimal injection time meant certain death for the infected. But the problem was, right now, Alaska faces a rare blizzard. The air pressure is dropping fast, roads are shut, and planes can't fly. The whole town is under a deathly shadow. With no choice, everyone turns to old ways of transport. All eyes are on Sepp, the town's top musher, and his lead dog, Togo. The mayor asks Sepp how long the trip will take. Sepp says it's not about time, but if they can make it back alive. So, he hesitates to agree. Passing the hospital, Sepp sees kids he watched grow up, now in danger. It hurts him. At home, he waxes the sled, deep in thought. His wife knows he's moved to act but asks him not to take Togo, suggesting other dogs lead instead, as Togo is 12 and too old. He might collapse and die on the way. Thinking this might be the last few hours with Togo, his wife's heart aches. But Sepp says if Togo doesn't go with him in this terrible weather, it might be his last hours with her. Just then, there's a knock at the door. It's the mayor, visiting late at night, unable to find any other means of transport. Being the good man he is, Sepp agrees to the adventure. Before leaving, his wife tells Togo to bring him back safely and to return safely himself. Togo seems to understand and nods slightly. To save time, Sepp sets off early. The townsfolk rise early to see Sepp's team off, their eyes filled with respect and hope. Sepp knows this is a race against nature or fate. As they near the mountains, snow and wind blind them, and fog is thick. Facing the unknown blizzard, Sepp gears up and leads the sled team in without hesitation. To save time, he decides to cross the mountain. In the towering, treacherous snow mountains, Sepp can only lead the sled team uphill with difficulty. The blizzard is far fiercer than he imagined. After finally reaching the steep slope, the real challenge begins as Sepp directs the sled team toward the valley. As they went down the mountain, the sled team sped up without realizing it. Sepp couldn't see through the wind and snow. Luckily, Togo sensed danger and stopped just before the cliff. The other dogs couldn't brake in time due to inertia. Sepp quickly jumped off to anchor the sled with an ice pick, but the speed was too fast, and he was thrown off. At the last moment, he managed to drive the ice pick into the ground, stopping the dogs just before the cliff. The situation was still dire. Sepp shouted for Togo to turn back. Togo carefully turned and charged upward, but the dogs were too scared to move. Togo couldn't pull the sled team up alone. The dogs calmed down, turned, and climbed up. With Togo's effort, the sled was pulled up. After escaping danger, Sepp saw Togo's paw was hurt. They reached a station by nightfall, where a woman treated Togo's wound. Before dawn, they set off again. Sepp decided to cross the strait to save a day and give the children a better chance with the serum, risking their lives. On the ice field, they were like a sword, cutting through the storm. Soon, the ice cracked, startling even Sepp. The dogs were terrified and confused. Even Togo, always fearless, looked back nervously. Sepp realized this couldn't continue, so he encouraged them with words. The dogs regained confidence with his speech. Meanwhile, the local newspaper sent a report to the Associated Press, and soon, people across America knew about the events in Alaska. Temperature is nearly minus, with wind speeds reaching 80 km per hour. Amidst the storm, the white monkey and the epidemic worsened, and people and dogs set out on a 1,000-kilometer journey. For this brave race against time, everyone had questions. Their question wasn't if Sepp could get the medicine back in time, but if they could return alive. While the media and onlookers chattered, Sepp's sled team had crossed the strait into another treacherous mountain range. Because of Sepp's actions, Jian Zhubao sparked public debate. The mayor decided to organize a sled relay. He set up 14 relay teams, and the sled team only needed to run a short distance between relays, passing the serum to the next team. But this required Sepp to get the serum from the relay team along the way. Yet Sepp's wife noted her husband would risk crossing the strait. This could lead to a perfect miss with the incoming team. Meanwhile, Sepp, on the road, was unaware of this. Due to the long journey, Sepp was nearly overcome by drowsiness and fatigue, relying on Togo to lead the team swiftly. Unexpectedly, they narrowly missed the relay team at this moment. By the time the relay team noticed, it was too late. He shouted at Sepp from behind, but the wind and snow were too loud, and Sepp was too exhausted to notice. Just when he thought it was all in vain, Sepp returned from the snowstorm. It turned out that the alert Togo had stopped. Thus, in the icy winter, the two stars finally embraced. Sepp successfully obtained the life-saving serum. Togo, having pushed himself to the limit to keep up with his master, was already exhausted. Many relay team sled dogs were buried in the Alaskan snow mountains due to this mission. They were very worried about whether Togo had the strength to complete the next mission. They wanted Togo to stay and rest, but Sepp refused. After a simple overnight rest at one stop, Sepp set out again. Watching Sepp's back, they were full of admiration, but never expected Sepp to suddenly turn right. Time for the town's children. Sepp decided to risk crossing the strait again. At this time, the temperature was over -60 degrees, and the ice beneath was several centimeters thick, but due to the threat of the hurricane, even if you were already there, setting foot on this path means disregarding life and death. Sure enough, not long after starting, they found the road ahead impassable. Worse still, the compass inexplicably failed. Now only 2 directions remain, but Sepp has no idea which way to go. Now they can only rely on the lead dog, Togo, to find the way. In a critical moment, Togo turned and began chasing floating ice. They pressed on over the cracked, uneven ice. Ahead lies endless fragmented ice, and a moment's inattention could mean being swallowed by a crevice. In such conditions, Togo's judgment directly determines their survival. He must be sharp, brave, and vigilant. Huge waves lifted the ice, tilting the slick surface, making it nearly impossible to stand. Sepp looked back and could only shout for them to quickly rush behind the soap. Despite the massive impact, the cracking ice didn't scare Togo. He led the team bravely through, swift as the wind, overcoming each peril. Victory was in sight, but Togo stopped because the ice was too far from the shore. Seeing it was just a step away, Sepp decided to take a leap of faith. He directly threw Togo onto the shore. Then, with Togo's strength alone, he pulled the entire ice sheet. But this exhausted his last bit of energy. Upon reaching a station, the owner's wife stroked the sleeping Togo, tears streaming down her face. She said in dialect, "This dog is dying." Sepp asked, puzzled, why she was crying. The owner said it was just smoke in her eyes. After a simple rest overnight, they decided to return via the magnetic tower. Before leaving, the owner suddenly called Sepp and took him to the strait he crossed yesterday. By now, the sea was devoid of any ice. The scene before him left Sepp in awe. The journey ahead was the final 32 kilometers. Sepp couldn't bear to see Togo strain his legs and wanted him to ride the sled. But no matter how Sepp persuaded, Togo would resolutely return to the lead position, for it was his place, his honor. From life to death, it was always so. Sepp could only helplessly tie the rope to him. As they passed through a forest, the weather worsened, with blinding snow and low visibility. Sepp could barely see anything. He could only once again instruct Togo. "Now it's up to you. Take us to the next stop. I know you can do it. The snow's getting deeper, and the sky's darker." In the end, Sepp couldn't hold on. Exhausted, he fell asleep on the sled, entrusting his life and trust to Togo. Not knowing how long had passed, when Sepp woke up, he found the sled had stopped, and the dogs were lying still. He realized something was wrong and hurried to Togo. At this moment, Togo was also lying on the ground, exhausted. Sepp pleaded with him to hold on a little longer. They were almost there. "If we stop here, we'll all die." But this time, Togo was too tired. No matter how Sepp pleaded, he couldn't even open his eyes. Just as Sepp was about to despair, a faint light shone from behind. The person who came was a station worker. It turned out Togo had led the team to the station's entrance before collapsing. Just as his wife said, Togo could bring survival will to his pack. The next day, a sled carrying serum rushed to the town. Reporters who had been waiting for a long time, eager for headlines, photographed the last sled team, making Balto the hero of this relay race. Soon, Balto's name spread throughout Central Park in New York, and a statue was erected for him. The sick children, thanks to timely rescue, regained their youthful vitality. The rest during the war also gave Sepp and his partners renewed energy. After the storm, everything was peaceful. The way home was neither near nor far. Sepp decided to walk back step by step with Togo and the team. Because adding even a little burden to Togo would be heartbreaking for Sepp. Dogs not allowed in the bedroom became a thing of the past for Togo. At this time, Sepp completely changed his utilitarian view of sled dogs. Now, he sees them more as friends, partners, and children. Although others became the town's saviors, people knew who the real hero was. They all sent blessings and gifts to Sepp. However, Sepp was still full of worry. What concerned him most was undoubtedly Togo's health. Among them, a little girl saved by the serum looked at the frail Togo, tears in her eyes, and asked, "Is she going to die?" Although it was just a child's innocent words, it hit Sepp's sore spot. He was overwhelmed with emotion and rushed out. His wife advised him not to blame the child. She didn't mean it. "You should imagine what it's like for the neighbor to lose a daughter, and for me to lose a husband." Sepp, feeling guilty, said, "I pushed Togo to a dead end." He wasn't ready for Togo to leave. Life slowly got back to normal. Togo, still injured, stayed by Sepp's side. But today, Sepp kept his distance because he had to work, and Togo couldn't join him. Reluctantly, he left Togo at home and set off with a new team. Watching Sepp's back, Togo felt the pain of his childhood, silent. With his hurt paw, he jumped to the door, surprising his wife by turning the knob. Like when he was young, Togo escaped and limped towards Sepp. Gradually, Togo forgot the pain, and his paw seemed fine. He was the fastest sled dog again. Sepp sensed Togo coming and turned back. Looking back, he saw Togo running to him, just like 12 years ago. Loyal and unwavering. Sepp thought Togo was born for sledding, but now he knew Togo was born for him. After that day, Sepp quit sledding. His wife was right. Togo had a will to live. He came back. Even a rare blizzard couldn't stop him. After retiring, he became a father. In 2 years, he had many descendants. Americans praised Balto, but sledders worldwide wanted Togo's pups. They were smart, tough, brave leaders, but most importantly, gentle and bonded with humans. Togo passed on a December Thursday. Sepp and his wife kept breeding dogs. Though Togo was gone, Sepp always saw him on the mountain. Sepp realized a good dog might not be with you for life, but life with you. Togo, directed by Erickson Core, stars Willem Dafoe and Julianne Nicholson. Released in 2019, it's an adventure drama. The film is based on true events in Nome in 1925. The vaccine was 1085 km from Nome, with 20 sled teams in the relay, 19 averaging 50 km each. Togo's team ran the most dangerous 425 kilometers. His story was hidden for 86 years until 201, when Time magazine reported it, naming Togo the bravest animal ever. Togo's birth seemed like a twist of fate, small and weak, even thought by Sepp to be unfit as a sled dog. But this seemingly frail Siberian husky proved life's dignity isn't about pedigree or size, but an unyielding will, by escaping his cage 4 times. He smashed glass, dug through the ground, and climbed rocky thickets. Each escape was a silent declaration. I belong to the wild, not a cage. Sepp finally let him try sledding. Togo rose from the back of the pack to lead, writing his legacy on the snow with his path. This stubbornness is not just a survival instinct, but a statement on life's meaning. Like in the film, Togo leaping across glacier crevices, the fragile ice seemed to burst with life under his steps. Togo's story shatters the conventional definition of strength and weakness. In his frail body burned the fiercest wild spirit. As he led his lost master through a blizzard, he showed not just direction, but a deep intuition of nature's laws. This wildness isn't chaotic destruction, but life energy resonating with purpose. His story tells us that while fate may give a humble start, the height of life is always self-measured. Like the ever-flowing glacier in the film, only by never stopping can we avoid freezing into silence. When we compromise with reality or retreat from setbacks, remember a frail husky once lived a magnificent rebellion, tearing apart the impossible, running a path of light in despair. Alright, that's it for today's movie. Feel free to like, comment, and share. Looking forward to our next meeting.